Hi. So, I still haven't decided whether I'm actually going to show these videos or not, or what order, if I do show them, what they'll be in. But on the off chance you notice that I'm wearing the same clothes on a couple of videos and I appear to be driving, it's because I had an hour drive and I decided to film a couple videos at the same time. It has been very strongly encouraged by some of my friends, and I don't even remember if my therapist actually encouraged that or just was generally supportive, that I take up vlogging again. So, what the hell? Again, not 100% sure on the date here. I want to say it's June 1st. It's a Sunday. I don't have a calendar in front of me because I'm driving. And with COVID and everything rolling on, the days just kind of blend together. But 2020 has been an awful year for a lot of people. I get that. 2020 has not been a great year for me either, by and large. Ironically enough, COVID was probably one of the least impacting negative factors on my year. It has not been a good year for me on the mental health front. I work for a large multinational company. I may have said my employer in another video, but I don't especially feel like doxing myself at the moment, so it is what it is. But I have been with that company for several years, and they have been a very good employer to me. They are a great company to work for. I have very strong brand loyalty, even though I didn't own any of their products prior to my working for them. But that's another story for another time. The long and the short of it, though, is that pretty early on in the year, I was doing a rotation with a specialty group within my company that was in several ways the equivalent of my dream job within the company. And I thought I was pretty damn good at it. So when we were given an opportunity to interview and stay beyond our initial rotation with it, I went for it, got an interview, thought I did pretty well in the interview, and then was like one of the only people who didn't get to stay on, which was a bummer to say the very least. Unfortunately, my mental state took a bit of a hit, and I wasn't really functional for a while after that, so I figured, oh boy, this is not good. And I've been in therapy kind of casually before that, seeing a therapist about once a month for top-offs. And I happened to have an appointment the next week, so I went to my regularly scheduled therapy appointment and was like, yeah, this is hitting me a lot harder than it should, and I know that this isn't right, that this is not an appropriate reaction, and that started me on one hellacious journey. The job thing was kind of the proverbial straw. In the grand scheme, not that major. I would even say now that while it was upsetting, it is what it is. But more and more things bubbling back many, many years began to kind of resurface. Like, I during that therapy session, I was talking about something else unrelated to that job incident, and I had a flashback. Basically, where I kind of left the present and was reliving the event that was described. And congratulations me, that was part of how I landed myself with a PTSD diagnosis, among other things. So it was recommended that I commence with IOP, which, if you're not familiar with IOP, IOP stands for Intensive Outpatient Therapy. Basically, it is 2 steps below being admitted to a psych unit. There's, full-on inpatient hospitalization where you're on the unit 24/7 until you're not. And then there's partial hospitalization, PHP, which is basically where you're in the hospital setting from, think at my local hospital, it's 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. 5 days a week. I didn't need that. I ended up in IOP, which is Intensive Outpatient Therapy, where basically it's a group therapy session for 3 hours a day, 3 days a week, for a minimum of 20 sessions. I think I ended up completing 23 sessions before it was all said and done. And that was going on during the worst of the COVID quarantine time. So I actually did not have the luxury of being quarantined, because that type of therapy is actually considered an essential service. So while most people were told to stay at home, I was driving 45 minutes to therapy 3 days a week. And I think it was actually probably better for my sanity that I wasn't shut in the house the entire time, because since that is finished and I'm now down to what they call a relapse prevention 1 day a week for an hour, and I'm also seeing my individual therapist separately on a weekly basis right now, I think I am getting a little more stir crazy than I was during the more intensive therapy periods. I also, to a degree, feel like some of the depressive aspects have gotten worse. But at the same time, I'm also at this point looking at some traumas that go back 30 years. So pretty sure that might actually be a contributing factor, just throwing that out there. Kind of like I described to my therapist, it's like, in some ways, I know that this process is gonna be worth it, and I'm really curious to find out who I'm gonna be on the other side of it. But the process is freaking brutal right now. In some ways, I feel like I'm actually more depressed than I was before I completed 7 weeks of IOP. Probably because of the fact that I've had more trauma flashbacks and my sleep has not improved to any significant degree, and I've had issues with sleep my entire life. I've never been able to hit that correct balance. I'm either a total insomniac or I can be like my mother and sleep for days on end. So, yay. And the worst part about sleeping for days on end is you wake up and you're still tired. I don't wish that on anyone. Add into the fun that I'm also allergic to a boatload of medications, and the reactions are bizarre. I have a friend who said, dude, you can't even take Tylenol. She wasn't joking. I can't take Tylenol. But, whatever. It's been an interesting year. And this mental health journey has been eye-opening, to say the very least. And I don't know that I'm comfortable with showing this vlog yet. I don't know if this vlog will ever see the light of day. But it's here and it exists. So, my 2020 in a nutshell. I have a breakdown. About a week later, a global pandemic hits. Quarantine. I don't get to stay quarantined. Quarantines lift. Racial tension and riots all over the world. Oh, and I'm having my own, going through my own personal hell of 30 years of trauma flashbacks. So, yay me. I do say that to a degree with humor. I don't want anyone's pity or sympathy, because everyone's got their own stuff to go through. And everyone's journey is different. My journey is my journey. Your journey is your journey. And we've all got our crosses to bear. But right now, I feel like on the mental health scale that I am still more fragile than I care to admit in some ways. But at the end of the day, I think I will come out of it stronger. And I think that it is long overdue. The time has come and gone and come again to exercise some personal demons. Lay the ghosts to rest. I don't want to forget. I don't think that forgetting trauma is helpful. But I think that acknowledging it and working through it and figuring out how to put the pieces back together and move forward, while acknowledging that trauma and any potential after effects, whether it be depression or anxiety or even more severe mental illnesses that may have stemmed from it. I think figuring out how to integrate all of it and come out on the other side intact is really the best outcome that one can hope for. I have considered myself a survivor for the last 30 years. And in some ways, I've never lived up to my full potential. And there is some guilt associated with that. And a bit of self-disappointment with that. And I think that the events of this year, and just the way that everything has happened, and just the way that this shitstorm has lined itself up perfectly, not only in my life, but on a global scale, have made me specifically realize, at least for myself, that there's business I needed that I really should have taken care of a long time ago. And that I don't know if I'm going to be ready to move forward until I face the things of yesteryear and figure out, if not how to exorcise the demons, how to live with them and maybe coexist with them better, so that I can't just say I'm a survivor, because for better or for worse, I am a survivor. This journey that I'm on is not gonna beat me down. Well, actually, it's beaten me down pretty effectively. But it's not gonna... I may be down, but I'm not out. At the end of the day, this entire journey will be worth it. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm reasonably sure it's not a train. But for me, 2020 is... the main theme that comes to my mind for 2020 is it's time. It's time for a change. It's time to work through laying the demons to rest. And working on acknowledging that it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to show